Hello everybody. In this Python tutorial we are going to go over the basics of loops. Specifically, we will cover examples of the for loop and the while loop. So let's go ahead and get started. To create a simple for loop, you just simply use the word for, then you state a variable, and in this case we have used I, but you could use another variable if you'd like, and then you use the word in, and in this case we're going to use a range starting at 1 and going up to but not including 11. So if we select this and run it, we have put the I variable that iterates through the range in a print statement. To display it, we should get 1 through 10. And here you can see we get 1 through 10. Now you could also put a string in this print to display, so let's just put hello, and this will just simply print hello 10 times. See, here we get hello 10 times. Next up, let's use a for loop to iterate through a list and then print each item of the list. So here we have a list called trees. We have 4 items in the list: redwood, pine, cedar, maple. When we create our for loop, we're going to say for some variable in the list of trees, and in this case we're just going to display each item of the list. So we put the I in the print statement, let's select it and run it, and you can see here we get each item of the list displayed. In the next example, we're going to use the enumerate with our for loop, and we're going to use 2 variables. So we're going to say for A and B in enumerate, and we're going to put the trees list inside the enumerate. Then we're going to use a print to display, and the A variable here will be a positional number paired with each item of the trees list, and the B will be each item of the trees list. So let's go ahead and select this and run it, and you can see for list item 1, which was variable A, and the reason we put +1 here is because that starts at 0. So if you want it to start at 1, that would be 0 plus 1, which gives us 1 over here. And that would be positional list item number 1 paired with redwood. Then we have item number 2 paired with pine, item number 3 paired with cedar, and item number 4 paired with maple. For our next couple examples, we're going to go over how to loop through a dictionary. So here we have our dictionary with the key value pairs emerald and its corresponding color green, ruby, its corresponding color red, sapphire, its corresponding color blue. One way to iterate through a dictionary is to use the for loop, create 2 variables. We have k and v, which stands for key and value, in the dictionary, and then use a dot to access items, and this will allow us to access each element of the dictionary key value pair. Then you just simply put the K and the V in a print statement to display. Another way to loop through a dictionary is to use the for loop for I in D1, dictionary 1 here. Use a print to display, and inside the print we're going to put the I, which will display the key, and then we're going to reference the dictionary D1, and inside square brackets we're going to put another I, and this will reference the value. So let's select this and run it, and you can see we have both examples here. Here's the first example, ruby red, sapphire blue, emerald green, and here is the second example, and this is the example here. And again, we have ruby red, sapphire blue, emerald green. Next, let's go over an example of a nested loop. So here we have for I in a range of 15. Then we have another for loop nested underneath this first for loop, which is for j in a range of 15. Then we're going to say if I is greater than or equal than j, print a star. We're using end, which will keep each star on the same line. And then we're using a print in a specific scope here in line with the second for loop to put the sets of stars on new lines depending on the number in our range. And our goal with this nested for loop is to make a triangle made out of stars. So let's go ahead and print this, and you can see we get our triangle made out of stars here. Now let's explain this code just a little bit further. So when we start our for loops, so we have our first for loop and our second for loop, and then we have a print that displays the stars. We already talked about the end and this second print statement. Basically what that will do without the if statement is print a rectangle of stars. Now this if statement is kind of the magic behind what makes the triangle, and what this does is it kind of looks at what stars are going to be displayed vertically and horizontally, and it works together with all this code here to only display stars in a triangular shape. And I think we may do some tutorials on these types of loops that can be used to create different shapes at some point in the future. Next up, we have our first example of a while loop. And when you create a while loop, you want to keep in mind that you're typically going to need 3 ingredients: a start, a stop, and an iterate. So here we have I, which is our start, and we have set that to 0. Then we create our while loop, and we say while I is less than 10, which would be our stop. Next we have I plus equals 1, which is the same as saying I equals 1 plus 1, which increments I by 1, which is our iterate. Then we can simply use a print statement to display the I. So if we select this and run it, you can see we get 1 through 10. Next up, we have an example of a while loop with continue. So again, here we have I to start. While I is less than 10, that's our stop. We're going to use I plus equals 1 to iterate and increment by 1 through the loop. Then we're going to say if I mod 2 equals 0, then you use the continue statement, and we're going to use print to display I. So let's print this and then explain it just a little bit further. So you can see we get 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And you can see that the evens have been skipped. So this statement here gives us the evens. We're saying if the number is even, continue. And you can kind of, in this case, think of the continue as a skip. So if it's even, skip it, and then print the odds. Okay? And for our final example, we have a while true loop with a break. We have imported the random module, and we're going to use the random module to create a random integer between 1 and 50. To create our while true loop, you just simply say while true, colon. Here we have our random number between 1 and 50. We're going to use a print to display the random number. And then if the random number equals 25, we use a break statement to break out of the loop. So basically this while true statement will print off random numbers between 1 and 50 until it gets a 25, and then it will break out of the loop. So let's go ahead and select this and run it, and you can see all these numbers are random numbers until it reached 25 here, and then the while loop stopped. Let's go ahead and run it again. Okay, so it looks like it reached 25 just a little bit quicker this time. So the while loop created random numbers until it reached 25, and then it stopped. Okay, so that's all we have for this tutorial on loops in Python. We will be doing many more Python tutorials in the near future. Join us for those, and we'll see you next time.